Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to whatever the heck Jesse uploads today. It is 5:49 in the morning, or 5:50 now in the morning, and I am getting my day started. Today is April 8th, 2025, here on the farm, obviously, where I live. And today's video is going to be a bit different. Today's video is the start of probably what's going to be probably a 3 to 4 part series. And y'all probably wondering, well, what's it gonna be? And I'm sure y'all can probably tell from the title what it is. But today I begin my long journey, back to China. This will be my first time going back, and I think I'm the first one in my family to go back since 2012. So I'm rather excited for it. And this morning, I'm just kind of finishing packing some of the last few things and getting ready and stuff. I'm gonna take a bath and eat breakfast, and then my parents will probably drop me off at the airport around 10. And then I just kind of check in and hang out till it's time to fly out. So let me show you all kind of what I got. Okay, guys, and so I have everything packed up here in this very nice backpack that I bought for the trip about 2 months ago. And I've had it packed for about the past 3 days because I had to work yesterday, and then I knew I had to get up fairly early today to start getting ready to fly out around 3 this afternoon. And because I live a good way from the airport, I had to get up a bit earlier to be ready, since it's about 2 hours from where I live. But this is the backpack, and of course the water bottle's empty, so TSA is happy with me. And then I got all the clothes I need, hairbrush, medicine, shampoo, all that stuff. And then also some genealogical documents and such, and other travel documents that I'll be bringing along. And of course, the handy-dandy passport bag and stuff to keep, passport money, flight itinerary stuff and ticket numbers. So when I go to check in at the airport, I can easily give that to them so I can get my boarding pass. And I must apologize if this video is kind of starting off on a very monotone note for something as exciting as it is. I woke up around 4:30, so I am maybe at halfway awake still. But it is going to be very exciting, and I guess I will get back to it once I'm started to get ready and dressed for the day and headed out, so I'll see y'all then. Okay, guys, so I just got done getting out of the bath a couple minutes ago, and now I am all dressed in my travel clothes. I figured I'd probably wear a long sleeve just in case any of the flights are kind of cold for some reason. But yeah, I'm pretty much all ready to go now. I got my passport bag here. I'm gonna take the passport out and put it in my front pocket actually before I head into the airport. That way I can take this off and put it in the TSA thingy-majig, the little bin you have to put through the machine. That way it is not an issue. But I wanted to tell y'all a bit more about this trip. That way y'all can kind of realize what y'all are getting into when y'all are watching this. So essentially, there is a Chinese genealogy group that organizes conferences, kind of on the West Coast most of the time, for people to learn more about their Chinese genealogy and ancestry, and help them, do Chinese genealogy, because it's not a subject that's widely known, or like how to do it, because a lot of the records are in Chinese, and most Chinese Americans, we aren't able to read Chinese generally. So they often put together those workshops, either in Las Vegas or in San Francisco sometimes. And I went to that one back in January, actually. That was the first one I've been to, and it was a lot of fun, and definitely learned a lot and met a lot of good people, made some good connections. But the same group also organizes group tours back to China. In this case, it is called Tour Segment 2. So which is also a workshop, technically, where you kind of learn about the entire history of Southern Chinese people. So which is where that part of my mom's side of the family came from. And then you also get to talk with a researcher who you've sent information to about 2 months prior to the trip. And they will kind of tell you what they found in the villages, if you know your village name and who lived there and all of that. So it's really neat. And then on the last 2 days of this tour, I will be going back to my ancestral villages. In this case, I'll be going to the village of my great-grandfather, who's still alive, thankfully. And that's where he was born, where his dad was born, and where he kind of grew up. And then I will be going back to the village of my great-grandmother's grandfather, who was a rather interesting fellow, and I'll get more into that when I make probably the part of the video that goes over his village and kind of his life story, so which I'm very excited to visit there as well. But I just wanted to share that with y'all to kind of give y'all an idea of what this video is going to be about and what traveling's about. This will be my first time traveling outside of the United States, and I'll be the first one, like I said, of my family to go back since about 2012, so I'm very curious to see if some of my village relatives are still there as well and get to meet them and hang out with the rest of the group and just enjoy China. I know today a lot of people, can kind of feel a bit worried about it, but I think it is going to be a rather great and fantastic trip. So now, I won't yap on too much longer because I want to keep the video interesting for y'all and also not information overload all of y'all, since later in the video I'm sure I'll be doing a lot of that, but hopefully y'all enjoy it. But yeah, I will see y'all once we're on the road. Alrighty, so I just got to the airport and got the backpack on at the airport. There's Dad, and I'm about to head in and head off from Austin to San Francisco. Okay, so I had about a 3-hour layover before my flight actually took off from Austin, so I just kind of sat around for a good while and chilled and waited for my flight to take.
What's your point? You're thinking too fast.
Hi there everyone, Future Jesse here. I decided that I would record the little intermittent bits and pieces of the story that I missed recording while I was on the journey, either because I was just in the moment doing what I needed to do, or I was too shy to record, so which is more likely the case most of the time. But before I headed out from San Francisco Airport, I met up with my good friend Patrick, and me and him had a nice lunch before I had to get dinner, since I arrived there at 7 in the evening, before I had to head out to the flight, since I still had like another 6 hours to wait after 7 till midnight when my flight took off. Okay, so I had about a 6-hour layover in San Francisco, so I just kind of spent a lot of time hanging out in the lobby of my terminal since my flight took off at 12:30 a.m., so it was a rather long night, but we got there. But something I wanted to note, if you decide, for yourself that you want to go back to China or you want to go visit there for the first time, if you are flying with China Southern, if you are a foreigner, you have to check in at the counter directly. I tried checking in online and on their app, even though I really can't read Chinese. I even had my good friend Patrick, who can read it, try to, check in on their app for me, and it didn't work. So I definitely strongly advise you just check in at the airport, because it works every time there. But on any of their apps it didn't. But besides that, China Southern's, or my experience with China Southern was very good. Now, my flight from San Francisco to Guangzhou was direct, thankfully, through China Southern. It was about a 15-hour flight, but the plane was very spacious, a lot of legroom, thankfully, and it was very comfortable, and they did really good service overall. And the food on the flight was actually pretty decent as well. Definitely avoided any seafood, but besides that, all was pretty good and delicious, and just overall very comfortable, I'd say. Now, y'all are all probably wondering, what am I exactly looking at in this clip, and it'll become clear in a second. But this was actually my first view of China as we were flying over the northern part of the country, so that was a really cool experience to see that out the window for the first time. Okay, so as you can see, I looked pretty whipped after arriving in Guangzhou, and most of my friends did who were on the flight as well. There was about four others that were on the same trip as me who were on the same flight there, so which was very nice, needless to say, especially since it was my first time flying out of the country, and they were all very helpful, and I got to know them a bit better on the way there too. But kind of upon arriving in China at Guangzhou Baiyuan Airport, you go to the little kiosk thing and they take your fingerprints, then you take that little ticket and you go to the immigration place where they ask you why you're in China, coming to China and stuff, and you have to fill out like this little card that's about like that size with like passport number, visa number, what are you doing here? Do you know anyone in China? Why are you here? What's your profession? Things of that sort. And you fill that out before going to the immigration counter. And you hand that to them, they check your visa number, check your passport, type some stuff in, make sure you are good to enter the country. And if you are, they hand you your passport back after they stamped it, and you walk in. And I went through customs, so which was very relaxed actually, because I only brought my backpack. I didn't have any checked luggage going into the country, so I was good to go, and most of my friends were as well. So it was very relaxed. I was honestly a bit concerned because, here on the news in America and stuff, they can make, going through any Chinese customs look very intimidating. But it was actually very relaxed as long as you do the right thing. So that was kind of the experience upon arriving. But once again, everyone was pretty tired. And we actually, all six of us, I guess, ended up taking a taxi from the airport to our hotel kind of in the old market square of Guangzhou, so which you'll see in a minute.
Your college. It was international relations, but I'm working with kids now, so it's nothing related. Yeah, we got
Like a sports arena or something. They're driving in India is utter chaos. I would never.
No, but it's the traffic laws.
Interesting.
Chin matches.
Okay.
Anyway, Don Chin, his family was from China.
Okay, so that was kind of my first little view of Guangzhou. All of us were, as you could probably see in the video, like sticking our phones out the window or on the window to record kind of our first little view going into Guangzhou. And something I will say, my first impressions of the city were interesting because the first parts we kind of drove into kind of started off as very modern. I guess you'd call it the suburbs of Guangzhou, because most of the housing that's being built in China these days are these massive skyscrapers that can house like almost 100,000 people in them. So which is really crazy to think about, especially living here in the States. And the population of Guangzhou is almost about half of the population of the state that I live in, so which is pretty crazy to think about just in that one city. But when we got into the older part of the city near our hotel, that's when it became more interesting to me personally, seeing some of the old market streets that were probably, built in the, early 1900s, 1930s, 40s, and, 50s. That had that really pretty architecture and stuff. And in some ways, it kind of felt familiar to Chinatowns in like Houston and stuff. But it was also uniquely different because it was much older and original, of course. But it was really neat to see nonetheless.
Marco Pass, where some of the northern Chinese were driven by the imperial.
So as you can see, we arrived at our hotel, so which was very nice. I honestly didn't know when I got to China how nice the hotels would be, compared to the hotels here in the U.S. I'd never been there before, so I really didn't have much of a frame of reference, but the first hotel we stayed in was very, very nice. And something interesting I should note about that particular hotel is all of my Western apps worked on that hotel's Wi-Fi. But it was only during my time in China, only my Western apps worked on that particular hotel's Wi-Fi, but not anywhere else. I could only use WeChat after we left that hotel. But that wasn't a big complaint for me because I didn't get a VPN because I was like, I'm going to be, doing stuff most of the day anyway, and I just need to, text my family in the morning and evening just to let them know what I've been up to. But besides that, we had to wait almost like another 3 or 4 hours before we could check in. All of us were really tired and wanted to go upstairs to go to sleep, to rest from the jet lag. But most of us just kind of decided, well, we're in the middle of the city, we have plenty of daylight still. Let's just go walk around. So as you can see, me and some of my friends just went and walked around some of the market streets, and then me and a good friend that I made, me and her wandered around and went to the Cantonese Opera Museum, which was really beautiful. It's by far probably one of the most beautiful grounds I saw in Guangzhou. I know I was only in one very small part of the city for most of my time there, so I probably missed a lot of other stuff, but it was just very nice, quiet, and quaint, and in the museum itself, even though I didn't take a lot of pictures or video in there, there was a lot of really cool stuff kind of relating to the history of Cantonese opera and kind of the changes it went through, post 1949. And that was pretty neat to see. It gave me kind of a new view on things, so it was neat. But yeah, that's kind of what we did in that intermediate time before we could get back and get into our hotel rooms for the night.
Big smiley face, man.
Good evening, everyone. It is almost midnight here in Guangzhou, but as you can probably see from my many very short clips prior to me getting back to y'all, I walked around quite a bit in Guangzhou yesterday with some friends I've made in the group, and I apologize I really didn't talk in any of them or record for too long. I am just someone who's kind of shy recording in public or with other people, and so I'm slowly but surely having to break out of that because I can be a bit introverted sometimes. I don't know why that is, but that is just the case. But I wanted to get back to y'all before I had to go back to sleep, since I have to get back up at 5 a.m. because we all have to head out at 5:45 to the train station to go to the next city. We're going to be visiting the Meiguan Pass, which will be very, very cool. But yeah, the flight here was very long, but it wasn't too bad, thankfully. I think the worst thing about it is the jet lag I'm facing now, because me and a friend were walking around for about a couple hours, but by 4, both of us were starting to feel dehydrated and tired, so when we both got to the hotel, we crashed out. But yeah, I slept from 4 in the afternoon to 9:30 tonight. But I need to go back to sleep, so I am more rested for tomorrow. But I at least wanted to come back and give y'all a little bit of an update before day 2 starts tomorrow. So yeah, hope all of y'all are doing good, and see y'all in the next part, I guess. Okay, and so now this brings me to the end of part 1 of the China trip series that I'll be doing here on my YouTube channel. Each day I kind of recorded very similar to kind of this video, a lot of short clips, but on a lot of the later days I started recording much longer clips of what I was actually doing there and just kind of walking around there, so which y'all will probably find a bit more interesting. But you'll probably have video interjections like this one and the previous ones in this video to kind of cover the things that I wasn't either talking about while I was there, or kind of some things that I may have missed to kind of fit the whole story and picture together of my time there. But I hope y'all enjoyed this first part to this kind of very exciting series. I hope a lot of you find it educational, informational, and if you're considering, traveling there yourself, I hope it may give others kind of the inspiration or the courage to do so, because it's really not how a lot of people depict traveling to China. It's pretty relaxed, to be honest, and I had a really good time there, but I will get more into what I was doing there a bit later. And kind of, I would say, probably the most meaningful part of this series that I will publish. And to be honest, all of it was very meaningful in one way or another. But the last two videos, or the second to last video, will probably be one of the most meaningful for me. Because that is when I went back to some of my ancestral villages for the first time. So which many of you will probably find very cool to see that. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with all of you. But until next time, this has been Whatever the Heck Jesse Uploads. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and if you could please like, share, and subscribe if you'd like, I would greatly appreciate it, because it helps get my videos and my channel out there more. So which, while I'm not doing it for money or anything, I do it just simply kind of for the enjoyment of it and sharing kind of my niche knowledge with y'all and things that I do, since I know some people out there find it interesting. So yeah, until next time, I hope you all have a good one, and see y'all then. Bye.